Good afternoon to all the participants. First of all, I'd like you to check my audio. Is that audio level is fine? Yeah. So I'll go ahead and share my presentation with you. So here we are.
You could be a little louder. That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about the exploring the historical monuments through the eyes of school students. So a research perspective that we are going to talk about today. And I would like you to, although it is a presentation and I'll be sharing my insights, so we'll be try to keep as interactive through chat and all that. So I'll ask few questions and I'll be very glad if you can, share it, answer it in the chat box. So let's start. The first topic is why it is important to research our historical monuments. So what is the outcome of such an endeavor? So the first thing is like we delve into the rich tapestry of the history of our culture. You know, so the next is unraveling the mystery and the stories behind that, because all these monuments, historical places, they have a lot of mystery involved. Okay, so that is an integral part of any monument. Okay, it is like we are looking into a certain period of time back, right? So kind of time travel it is. The next is to get an understanding of the past. So when we research a monument,
हाँ वाइब्रेशन फील हो रही होगी ना चेतना
so yeah, I think we have very enthusiastic participants. So okay, so profound understanding of the past, that is another uh, advantage that we get when we research on the monuments, and obviously what is the impact on the present. Okay, so as you can see, we are a very old and very proud civilization, and we have a lot of monuments. Okay, so each monument tells its own story. Okay, so we need to explore that up to maximum extent, and how we are going to do that. That is, we will try to address through this presentation. So first is to when we want to research on the monuments, so how to choose the monuments. There are different types of monuments: historical, religious, war memorials, artistic, cultural, natural, you know, modern, and other types. So all these are the a, a very basic classification of type of monuments that we can choose from, to perform the research. Okay. So in that, we have to look for the first aspect is the historical significance of the monument that we are going to investigate. Next is accessibility. So it should be easily accessible for the students, or for us to for maybe for a field visit or something like that, and a repeated visit, of course, if required. Next is what educational value it brings. So there are different type of monuments. So what we are trying to gain from that research, so that what educational value it will bring. So that is another aspect that we need to keep in mind, and the relevance to the curriculum, obviously. For example, a natural monument, it has its own flora and fauna, and apart from biology and certain economic aspects, so there be not much to be, in the another aspects that we are going to discuss later. So that we have to see. And then next is there is a structural approach also. It is called design thinking. Okay. Any of you have heard about design thinking? If you can type it in chat box. Have you heard this term? Chat design thinking. Oh, great. Billy says she has. Okay. Okay. Yeah, great. So how we are going to use it for investigating the monument. So we can try to discuss the various aspects, like why it was built. we can empathize with that situation. Okay, why it was required a particular monument? Maybe next, what purpose it serves? Okay, what kind of solution it provides to the contemporary society? That could be another aspect that can be investigated. And the any particular problem that it was designed to solve. Okay, so these are the few of the aspects when we investigate. Okay, like in the design thinking we have east, uh, empathize, analyze, solution and test approaches there. So we can always take these elements separately and try to investigate based on that. So then next step is to perform background research. Okay, what could be the starting point? Okay, when we talk about monuments and all that. So there are two types of research is involved. That
Shamsher,
is
so sorry
called.
to interrupt, but just there feedbacks. Like, would you be more louder? That's a feedback I'm getting.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, sure. So the next is background research, and there are different aspects. We can perform interviews, that is to get the first-hand information from the experts in that particular domain, maybe historians or local authorities, which can provide information or guidance about the history, architecture, or its conservation. The next is library and online research. So there is more it is academics, where we read the well-known authors or academic journals. There is a lot of research going on, that where people they are publishing research articles on the monuments or its preservation. So all these are good source of information. Okay, so we can, that could be the starting point of our own research. Okay, maybe it can guide us to find gaps, that which are the aspects that has not been investigated before, or investigated up to a limited extent. So that will give us a starting point. The next
The
is
next is
background research in the form of like geographical location, historical context, cultural and architectural characteristics. So all these are going to give us information about the design and form and ergonomics of a particular monument. For example, the geographical location, it is going to affect the the type of form that have. Let's say, for example, if it is in a monument is located in a mountain range. So what will happen is that the shape of the roof, it will be different. If it is in a planar area, then it will be a different kind of okay. And obviously the materials will also change. And so all these aspects that can be investigated using these broad points that we keep in mind. Okay, then how to link it with the to make it interesting for the students. So for example, mathematics is a very common subject, and it is related with functionality and form of the structures. Why functionality and form? Because when we talk about maths, obviously we are going to talk about the dimension of the structure. So when we talk about the dimensions of the structure, so what are the different measurements, and which calculations have been used? For example, how many of you have heard about the golden ratio? You can type in chat box. Golden ratio. Have you heard about that? Yeah. Just can somebody tell me like if monument that they remember that where the golden ratio is have been used, or from which culture it came? Anyone? Anyways, it is a mathematical ratio where we divide it to increase the visual appeal of that particular object. Okay. The next is the cost calculations. Obviously, the cost of construction is a critical part of any monument, and we can investigate the historical records or archives, maybe, you know, and get the insights into the economic aspects. It doesn't give only the, about the idea of the cost of the structure. It tells about the economy of that time, of particular the reign or the, emperor or whosoever has built that society, that how well they were doing in the, economy wise. So depending on that cost of construction, we can get a fair estimate. Okay. The next is geometry and trigonometry. Like what kind of geometric shapes or trigonometric principles that people have used in the structures. Okay, and how advanced it was. Okay, so depending on the geometric shape that we are going to use, people have used in the different structures. So they are going to be uh, aspects of functionality related with that. Okay, if they are making stairs, that how many number of steps are there, right? So all these aspects, for example, many of you might have heard about, there are simple belief systems are related with numbers and all that. There is no sector 13 in Chandigarh. Okay, because 13 is considered means, not a good number, okay, in Western culture. So there is no sector 13 in Chandigarh, right? So that kind of things that can be investigated. Then next is the physics and chemistry. If we talk about physics again, it comes down to functionality and ergonomics. Why? Because when we talk about physics, we talk about the structural engineering of that structure, and then the loads and it's designed to bear that load. So if we talk about load, the structural forces that are involved, and then apart from that structural loads, that any other, for example, that area is very into a very high seismic zone. For example, in Japan, most of the buildings they are made out of wood and like that. So that obviously, if that society or that at that point of time they have certain knowledge system, okay, so then it will reflect in that architecture of that building, okay, or whatever the monuments they have built or the monuments that have survived over a period of time. The next aspect is the chemistry. So chemistry has to do with the aesthetics, because there are two things involved. First one is being the materials. So the choice of material, which is going to affect the appearance, and durability of the structure, and then how it reacts to the environmental factor. Okay, so there is a very famous monument in India which has stood the test of time. Okay, and it is called a miracle in that sense, because it has not got any rust over centuries of time. So can any of you can type what is the thing I'm talking about? There is a very famous monument. It was built centuries back. Yeah. So Sunil, where it is located?
So it's iron pillar at Mehrauli, Delhi.
Yeah. So
New Delhi.
anybody? Yeah, New Delhi. Okay. So maybe you can tell us when it was built.
In front of Qutub Minar.
No, means in the time, like in which time period it was built. Yeah. Somebody said Gupta period.
Gupta
Gupta
period.
period, sir.
Gupta period. Sir.
Gupta period.
Okay.
Chandragupta Vikramaditya.
Okay. Okay. Great. So that is very crucial aspect. Not from that later on we are going to talk about that. Not from past point of view, future point of view also, because that is rust is a problem in that today also, such technology and all that, people are working on dust coating and all that sort of stuff. But we may take some inspiration from the such kind of structures also. Okay, then obviously the chemistry of conservation of the structure, how they are going to protect that, and what kind of cleaning, protection, and that sort of technologies are being used for the monuments. So these are very crucial. Okay, so let me share a very crucial information with you. you might have heard about Golden Temple in Amritsar, right? How many of you have visited or know about that? Okay.
Golden Temple, yes, of course. I've heard.
Yes. So you know that gold, which is the material that is used to clean that gold, because obviously due to pollution and all that, it gets, um, uh, all the elements that are deposited on the surface. So they use. Can anybody of you can guess that what is the material they are using to clean the gold or gold plating? Anybody? Any guesses?
I think copper or brass.
Copper.
No.
Copper sulfate.
Anybody? No.
I'm not sure if it was, I've read somewhere Rekha powder, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
So they use Rita powder. Okay. So no chemicals are involved, just Rita powder. It is used, and every year there is in a particular month that cleaning takes place, probably before Diwali. Okay. Okay. Anyways, so like that, this list goes on. You can investigate any number of aspects. Okay. For example, language and literature. If there are, inscriptions on a monument or a calligraphy, you can get an idea about that. And then environmental aspects and economical aspect of that. Impact on local economy and job creation, how it, uh, affects the. Recently, that case of Sri Lanka, it get into economic trouble. The economy was dependent on tourism, right? People, they are due to COVID restriction, people, that economy came down. Okay, so that sort of stuff you can investigate out. Okay. Then after that, we have done that. There are certain analysis we need to carry out based on the data we have collected, and graphical representation is the best way. That is my experience, right? Rather than writing, reports or something like that, you can just, a picture is worth thousand words. So just you can use some graphs or pie charts maybe, or some diagrams to show that, okay, so this is how different aspects are related to one another. So, and then you have to draw the meaningful conclusion based on the interpretation of the data. Whatever the conclusion is there, it should be supported by the data you have. Okay, or data students have. Until unless your conclusion is based on the facts, okay, so it will not make any meaningful research. Next is how to present findings. So this is the performing arts is one of the things that can be very useful, particularly because it involves a further participation into that, right? uh, Till here it is a one person job, maybe two or three guys people can do it, but here then again they have to revisit and rethink their whole journey from a different perspective, how they are going to present it. For example, students are there and somebody they have taken, let's say, um, the pyramids. Okay. So, okay, Vidyotma has a question. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll can Mega ma'am will take note of that questions, and I'll try to address in the end of this session. Okay, the thing is I was talking about, for example, a student they have investigated the pyramids, right? So now they have measured the dimensions and everything, and economy they are talking about, all these things. Now when they want to, for example, they want to present that how it was built, the pyramids were built, so they might rethink that. Okay, they might need to rethink that and how to present it on a stage or in a small space, and what kind of prompt they are going to use, right? So that could be one of the ways that, or in my opinion, that is the most effective. Then The next aspect is cross-disciplinary connections. So when we talk about cross-disciplinary connections, for example, what is the connection between maths and physics? Okay, in in an uh, in a structure, for example, there are certain structural loads. Okay, this is the load of the bricks and all that raw material that is being used. So how it is going to limit the dimensions of that structure? So that is these are the connections that are very important. Okay, for example, you might have heard about that story, the size of rocket that took man to the moon. Okay, Apollo 13 it was. So that size of rocket was limited by the rail tracks because it was carried from one point to the launch location using railways. Now railways it has certain gauge width, right? So that gauge width it was decided by the width of the two horses in Roman era because that is how that old road was constructed, and on the same roads the railways were built by the British later. Okay, so how that your physics it is related to the maths of the structure? Obviously, geography and history. Okay, for example, I'm sitting in Jaipur, so there is a old fort, Amer Fort. It was built long before Jaipur city. Okay, Jaipur city is developed in 1727, but the fort was built before that. Now, why it took so long to establish or develop a city? So, what is the historical facts that are associated with that, and what is the geography has to do with that? So, that are sort of connections that we have to make. Get a comprehensive understanding. And can any one of you tell that how we can link chemistry with conservation? You can type your responses in chat box. So, how chemistry is related to the conservation? Yeah, Rita said material used. Yes, of course. Anybody else? Colors, type of chemicals. Yes. So, like Rita said, the chemical composition of the materials used to build the structure that is going to affect the conservation because we do not want to initiate a reaction between different chemicals and that kind of stuff, right? So that is very important, and that may give an idea about students to how to look deep into chemistry. Yes, Mala Banerjee said for cleaning and preserving the artifacts, sustainable chemicals, which are again used. I was saying, indeed. Okay. So these are the aspects that we can guide students to look into. Right? Next is reflection and discussion. Now you can see that whenever we take any such endeavor, okay, and we try to connect dots, we have a lot of information. So until and unless we connect the pieces together, okay, so it's a raw information, right? You cannot make anything useful out of it. For that, you have to put critical thinking and then bring pieces together and make a picture out of it, right? So that complete picture, then uh, whether what are the aspects that we have missed or what are the aspects that we have hit, we need to discuss it with peers, right? We cannot, for example, a student is writing an exam, he or her himself cannot check it, right? And because why it is peer discussion is important because in the research we are charting into unknown territory that somebody has not explored it before. So peer discussion plays a role there. because we need to learn from different perspectives or maybe look at into from different perspectives. Okay, so these are the two aspects that we need to uh, look into next. Apart from that, what are the real world applications? Okay, if there is a structure, there is certain material used in that, you know, how it is going to be useful into modern engineering and architecture, or can we take an inspiration from that? Apart from that, the sustainability aspects, particularly the pre-industrial revolution structures. Okay, so they have stood the test of time, and they are made from less from minerals and all that because that came at very later stage. And how we can use that or bring that practices in today's this one knowledge knowledge system. Okay, so that we can have more sustainable future. So these are the two crucial aspects from my point of view. You can write your own opinion. What could be the real world application of such research? Anyone? Apart from the modern application in engineering and architecture and sustainability, are there any other real world application of this type of research? Okay, so you can type later also. Then, how to take the research to the next level? For example, if you feel like students they are really onto something or they want to explore it next. So these are the few ways that I have listed out here. You know, you can take it to the next level. First is the collaboration with the local experts. Second is insights. You know, people can share it through their social media, this one or blogs or journals they can write. And then next is they can join any mentorship program or partnership with the college that they carry out such kind of research. And last one is, of course, the exhibition, publication, or you can participate in competitions. So these are the few ways that you can take the research to the next level. Okay, so here I have taken example of Great Wall of China. Here, I have not purposefully I have not taken any Indian monument. Okay, so if you talk about Great Wall of China, so it has very huge historical significance, and it's an engineering marvel from that point of time. Okay, why why it is built? It is mainly built as a defensive structure. Okay, because there were China was facing a lot of invasions, and it was built over centuries and built across northern China, different terrains, mountains, deserts, and all that. Okay. Then what is the mathematics involved in that? So here, different dimensions and proportion of specific sections. Okay. Then what is the physics involved? No, here everybody, particularly their science students, they know about the projectile motion. Okay. So it was meant as a defense mechanism. So obviously the projectile motion they have investigated. Then the chemistry, what are the materials used, maybe earth, stone, and brick, and all that sort of stuff is, used for that. Then next aspect is social science. It has become a symbol of national pride for China. Then there is a historical text where it is mentioned, the Wall of China is mentioned, and people are analyzing it to get the more information about that contemporary society. And it has made a lot of impact also, in local ecosystem and land use. For example, in the modern monuments, if I can maybe talk about, you might have heard about that express highways that are being built right now in India at a very large scale. So what it is changing the land use that people, particularly from cities or urban areas, they cannot fathom about that, right? So there is a 2 acre of land is there, right, or 5 acres. So in the middle road is there. Now, how the people are going to access the other piece of land, and what kind of economy is going to develop around that small piece of land that is being separated. So all that sort of stuff can be investigated. Okay. So okay. So that's all from my side.